Waluigi! Luigi Kart 8!
It's about time to say what I really think of this game considering all the videos I have for it. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the improvement of its already beautiful predecessor. Now with all DLC unlocked, extra items, characters, car parts, and a whole new battle mode and more. If you like Mario Kart content, it would make me happy if you liked and subscribed to follow my posts. Like the Wii U version, the available modes to play haven't changed much over the years, as it consists of the usual Grand Prix, Versus, Online, Time Trial, and Battle mode. The gameplay is the same as in the Wii U version, but it has moderate mechanical differences, like the Ultra Mini Turbo, the absence of fire hopping and demon sliding, and a second item slot. Racing is very satisfying. Controls feel tight and responsive, but every now and then, the physics throw you for a loop, shoving you at a 90-degree turn, or making you slide outward more than usual after hitting something. That isn't necessarily a bad thing. You can learn to expect some stuff and play with it, but the struggle is when it's abrupt and unexpected. As for battle mode, it operates much better with the new arenas than the tracks like in the Wii U game. There's no option to turn off computers or the timer, so if you want to have more of a last man standing balloon battle between you and your buddies, you're out of luck. The arenas are very large as well, and the result is less engaging and intense gameplay. The very cool thing about battle mode is the 5 ways in which you can play, including a cops and robbers type of game, all of which you can play online. When choosing your character and kart, every stat has a purpose, and I wouldn't say any build is objectively bad until you get into high level play. New to the game? Build handling and acceleration. Want to build for the off-road, underwater, or anti-gravity? They got that too. Want to try hard? Focus on mini turbo and speed stats. Speaking of mini turbo stat, there's actually several stats that are hidden, and we really shouldn't have to research the game to figure out what parts do what if I want to know the fastest underwater build, for example. Another gripe I have is the fact that you can only see your build stats as a whole when choosing your parts. Since I can't see an individual part's stats, it can be a chore to compare and understand what part does what. There's 42 characters to choose from, which even includes characters from other universes like Link and Inklings. Many characters are similar to each other, like the fact that there's 5 baby characters, but despite that, it's the most characters in a mainline Mario Kart game, with 18 more choices than in Mario Kart Wii. Most of the game's content is available right off the bat, with the exception of 3 car parts and a character skin, which can be unlocked through collecting coins and completing certain modes. Since there isn't much to unlock, and most of it is done by simply putting time into the game, it doesn't feel rewarding, but if you already did that in the Wii U, you might be relieved you don't have to do it again. There's a whopping 48 tracks in this game, with 25 of them being brand spanking new, while 23 of them are returning tracks, which were moderately reworked to give them a fresh feel. They're designed well, chock full of ideas. They look breathtaking with plenty of attention to detail, and have great music to top it off. There's just a couple of tracks I find boring to race on, being Water Park and Toad's Turnpike, because they aren't very engaging, but when I enjoy 96% of the tracks, that's a job well done. Items are very abundant in this game, with 2 item slots for the first time ever, and the returning double item boxes. The game can get pretty hectic, and it often feels like victory is determined primarily off of items instead of your driving skill, assuming player skill levels are relatively close. So much so that it's optimal on certain tracks to sit back fishing for powerful items to surpass players at the end of the race. If you're racing as intended, there's zero counterplay to this strategy and feels really bad to play against. Unfortunately, if you can't beat them, join them. You'll only see this in high-level online play, so the majority of players will never have to deal with it. Deluxe more or less still has a problem with being able to defend yourself in first place, as it's still very common to pick up coins. One of my biggest hopes with this version of the game is that the defense coin issue was fixed. Sure, you have another slot for a defensive item, but the players behind you have another slot for an offensive item. Online mode has improved since Mario Kart 7 because now instead of players being able to spam the same track over and over, there's 3 random tracks you can choose to vote for, and a random option which will consist of any of the 48 tracks in the game. Then, as you might expect, one of the tracks gets picked randomly for everyone to race on. Online matchmaking, as far as I can tell, matches you with players that have similar versus rating, and you may gain 20 to 30 points per first place finish. You can imagine how lame it is for me to have played online up to 8,000 points to even remotely start playing against people of my skill level. Once I got to 10,000, the game tends to mix you with a wide variety of ratings. I've played against other players with 70,000 points. Versus rating is easier to obtain than to lose and is more closely correlated to how much you've played online compared to your relative skill level, which makes it a lot less meaningful. I am better than some of those 70,000 point players I've faced. If you play casually or you haven't played a crap ton of Mario Kart like me, this might not be as big of a problem for you. You'll also find yourself waiting in the lobby for the next race longer than you're actually racing. And when you are racing, it's not uncommon to have a large desync from other players, which makes dealing with items more difficult than it already is. There's also a tournament feature where you can set up some rules for a set amount of races and see who gets the most points to win it all. Unfortunately, it wasn't executed well. It's not a bracket setup, and if you don't have a full lobby of players, the game fills the room with computers and awards less points per race. So if you want a chance at winning the tourney, you have to hope your room has 12 players or keep flipping through rooms until you get a full one. Nintendo actually holds some of their own tourneys once in a while. The first one I looked into, Excited to Dominate, had a 24 race maximum, and once I noticed the point discrepancy, I realized it would take forever to complete the races on top of finding full rooms and then hoping you did well enough to win. Not worth my time in the slightest. If you don't care to play online, or you're just not able to, then playing solo doesn't go very far. There's Grand Prix with 4 different speeds plus mirror mode, and that gets repetitive fast. Then you're left with time trials or battle mode with computers. Other notable features of the game include a 200cc mode where you can race with more speed than you can handle and take shortcuts that weren't meant to be. New handicaps such as smart steering, which prevents you from falling off course or going into the off-road, a tips and tricks section, amiibo compatibility which unlocks costumes for your Miis, MKTV which allows you to re-watch recent races to see your sick plays, and a Toy-Con mode which allows you to set up your very expensive cardboard wheel and a gas pedal to use along with your Joy-Cons that probably drift. I personally haven't used Toy-Con, but from what I've seen, it doesn't seem all that practical as pausing requires you to take out your Joy-Con, and several functions are all on one button, being your pedal. With all that said, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is an outstanding game, and it has raised the bar significantly for Mario Kart 7 and Mario Kart Wii. There's a high amount of content in the game which looks and plays beautifully, but has a less than preferred competitive nature, an unrewarding single player experience, and some hiccups with online mode. Overall, this game is a very fitting 8 out of 10. As for my enjoyment, it has varied depending on how I play and how long I've played the game. It wasn't until I got very familiar with the game that I started to notice a few glaring flaws, many of which only show themselves in competitive play. My fun level has varied between a 6 and a 10, so I'll meet in the middle and give it an 8. As with most Mario Kart games, I recommend picking this up if you haven't already. It's a game for all types of players, but this one in particular is a step above its previous iterations. Thanks for watching, tell me what you think of the game in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you for my next video.
Oh yeah, extra freaky.